a sure thing. Change, change. Expect a miracle change. Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Now do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do 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 change. Do do do.
The views and opinions of our guest and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of New Thought Media Network, or any organization we may be affiliated with. Here at New Thought Media Network, we welcome freedom of speech and courageous conversations. There are many topics that can be difficult to navigate. Challenging the status quo and engaging in lively debate is important to expanding our understanding of one another, and life in general. Creating a peaceful world doesn't happen because no one disagrees, it happens from a willingness to understanding one another. In our programming, we strive to expand consciousness and assist people in creating remarkable lives. Your comments are welcome at info@ntmedia.org.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're coming from, all over the world, because we know that we have people who join us from different time zones and who also sometimes watch the show at other times during their day or evening. So welcome to the Spirit Cafe show. My name is Cheryl Rogers. I'm one of the co-hosts. And our co-host, Barbara Schreiner-Trudell, Barbara Jean, is in Kenya right now. She's at a conference and she's having a wonderful time experiencing some of the nature and wildlife there as well. So we are happy for her, and we are happy to be here with you. I'm going to let my co-host introduce herself, and she will take us into the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Cheryl. My name is Marg Dupuy. A pleasure to be here today, and I will gladly read the land acknowledgement. We work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many First Nations, and as we gather on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all generations of people who have taken this land for thousands of years, including the Métis, Inuit, and all other Indigenous people. Also acknowledging that we continue to grow and expand on these lands. There is still unresolved and dangerous inequity and discrimination towards our BIPOC and 2SLGBTQ+ family. By making these acknowledgements, we strive to be allies and take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one.
Yes, we are. And today I have the pleasure and the honor of introducing one of my teachers, my mentors, my favorite people to you as our guest. Our topic is Dare to Create, Dare to be Great. What unconscious thoughts, feelings, beliefs keep us afraid? And if anybody can walk us through that, it's definitely Reverend Dr. Martha Creek. And Reverend Dr. Martha Creek is more interested in being present to those she's serving than in talking about what she has accomplished. And her accomplishments are enormous. They include many bachelor's degrees in accounting, well, not many in accounting, but in accounting, human resources, and organizational management. She's as well a graduate degree from Emerson Theological Seminary. She has also attended Hoffman Institute, Byron Katie International School, Healthy Congregations and Family Systems, Lombard Mennonite Peace Center Mediation Skills and Conflict Resolution Program, Transcendental Mediation, Reiki, and so much more. And in addition, Martha has served in a ministerial role in both religious science and unity churches. Martha is widely known in New Thought, and she invites us all to approach deep inner work as an adventure with a sense of curiosity and wonder. Martha's mission and vision is as concise and as clear as she is. Go within or go without. Welcome, Martha.
Howdy, howdy, howdy. Hi, everybody. Hi.
Oh, it's so wonderful to have you here. I was sharing that I get to see you sometimes more than once a week, and how special that is for me. It really is a joyful experience. So grateful for you.
It's a gift to me, too, in any place we gather. And somebody was questioning yesterday about how much can still be done through virtual technology. And I'm like, oh, everything. Are you kidding? Like it's an entire world, and we've just still, I think, scratched the surface of it. So thank you, all of you, your producers and hosts and co-hosts and Kenya travel co-hosts for making this possible. And week after week after week of having these courageous conversations, and what it does for people, for me, for you, for us, for anybody listening, and then for the waves that from this pebble that we're putting in the wave of humanity today, the pond of humanity today, the waves that are going out are untold. So I know for sure we won't ever see some of the shade from the trees we're planting today. And it's a delight to plant with y'all. I can tell you that.
Thank you so much. So beautifully said about the ripple effect that things we say and do can have on others. It was beautifully put. So
I just want to dive in.
Yes.
When you sent the email saying, dare to be great, dare to create. Okay, where does the creation come from?
Well, that's up to the listeners, I think. You know, it's like for us, we absolutely are aware that we have some power within us to cause something. Like I can use a tone of voice and see that it caused a reaction in somebody. I can use certain tones of voice. I can use eye rolls and body gestures and body language and affirming, acknowledging to convey a sense of belonging, a safety I can create. And there's definite cause in that. And there's some responsibility then for us to take that responsibility, that if we're not mindful about what we're causing, the cause is still in effect. So my tone of voice is my responsibility. My attitude, the energy that I'm conveying, what I'm putting out in my heart is my responsibility. So I'm going to cause in accordance with principle, I believe. Whatever is the energy of my heart, the energy of my mind is going to cause me to create from that. And I'm either conscious about it or I'm primarily unconscious about it. And we're causing either way. And for me, it also means accepting that there's certain things I can cause and there's certain things I have no power in. So I have a great deal of power and I have the tension of the powerlessness also. That there's things I want to cause, there's things I want to create and things I want to change. And I don't have the power to do so. It is not thy will, apparently, or yet, or not yet. So it's accepting what I can create and cause and what I cannot create and cause, and living in the tensions of both of those.
I love how practical you made that. You really made it in a way, you know, because some of the concepts that we talk about when we talk about new thought can really, we talk metaphysically and all this, and sometimes it's hard to wrap our heads around, what is the meaning, what's being said. But just because we know that we create our reality through our words and our thoughts and our actions. However, you've really brought it down into a way that is so practical and understandable. And I never thought of it that way, that even the tone of our voice or the look on our face has an impact to what we are creating around us.
And therefore our experience, honey, and therefore either an uplift to our relationships or an eroding of our relationships.
Yeah.
And it's so huge, I think, particularly in this atmosphere and in this environment, because it's like the difference of thinking, so no, I'm a giraffe, but I'll just wish that I was a zebra. I'm going to wish I was a zebra. I'm going to visualize I'm a zebra. I'm going to put a zebra on my vision board. I'm going to affirm I'm a zebra. I'm going to paint black and white stripes on me and call myself a zebra. Now I'm a zebra. And it's like, no, you are a giraffe. You were designed to be a giraffe. You're divinely appointed to be a giraffe. And you can either accept your assignment as a giraffe, or you can be moody and grumpy and hateful and frustrated and irritated and let down all the way to the grave because you are not aligned with your assignment. And we can take that little metaphor and make it mean anything. We can apply it to any area of our lives.
Again, just another great example to think about practically when we're trying to be something else other than who we really are. Yeah, that's that actually makes me think about people who come into this world in one body, but feel that they are something else, and how challenging that is, and how hard it is for families and society to understand that that is who they are, not what they perceive them to be. So it made me think about that, because you're saying, if you're a giraffe, you can try and pretend you're something else, but it's going to come back and it's going to come out somewhere along the line that you're still that giraffe. And so, it made me think about that.
Well,
Challenge.
It is challenging, honey. And the reasons, the causes of us wearing these personas and these stripes and this even gender to fit in, to attempt to fit in, to have a sense of belonging, to create some kind of notion that we have safety in that, and it's simply not sustainable.
No.
So eventually it's like the truth of who and what we are, is waiting for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really, something else that I always think about when people turn away from those who are trying to be themselves, but not being accepted in families and things. I feel it's so, it's almost like my thoughts are, I love my kids no matter who they are, no matter what they are. So what is it about something in us that may make us turn away from somebody being their authentic, true self?
Well, being afraid, honey, of judging, being afraid of being judged, and being afraid of called a failure, or that you caused it, or it's your fault, or there's something wrong with this. And if there's something wrong with my kid, then there's something wrong with me. And we already believe this anyway. There's none of us that's immune from a belief that we're flawed, that we're faulty in some way, that we're imperfect, and that we are going to mess up, or that we've already messed up. So we've got deep held traumas and beliefs around these things. And anything like this, where We worry that we're going to be threatened, real or otherwise. An acute threat or an imagined threat, a perceived threat, will activate our own survival instincts.
Yeah.
And it's like we get very, very afraid. And then the more afraid we get, the more regressed we get. And the more regressed we get, the more like an animal we get. And then we have animalistic tendency, which will be to fight, to flee, to shut down, to go small, to get invisible. And the consequences of that patterned responses that are instinctual in us.
You know what I noticed in what you just said? I mean, perfectly true. But everything that you just spoke about was not about that person. It was about me and my reaction and why I'm reacting this way, but not about the other person.
Well, that's where the power lies, because my reaction to another person is showing me, if I look, it's showing me a part of me that I've disowned.
Right.
A part of me that I have suppressed and depressed and disowned. And that whatever is in the external is mirroring that to me. And so the way I treat them, the way I treat that, is also an indicator of how I treat that part of myself, and how much I've disowned that part of myself, parts of ourselves that we're guilty for, shameful, and that we've disowned in somehow. So everything, all my reaction to the external is an indicator of how I'm still treating my internal.
Right.
And primarily unconsciously.
Yeah. Mark, do you want to weigh in here?
I'm just absorbing right now.
Okay.
I know it's unusual for me to not have a comment. I'm sort of, my head is, to be truthful, my head is in the topic that Martha mentioned that she may speak on, the liminal space. And so I'm like, I'm not staying here. I'm like dragging myself over here. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to stay where we are, or Martha, did you want to talk about that? Does it marry together at all?
I think it does, and I can go either way. I can go either where you go. The liminal space for me speaks about what we're in, which is defined literally as an uncertain transition between who we are, who we're becoming, or who we've been, who we are, and who we're becoming, which includes who we are physically. I mean, that's got its own Spirit Cafe topic. If you want to talk about physical change and physical loss and lack of mobility and falling and hitting our heads and not thinking as clearly and COVID brain and chemo brain and God knows what, and not accepting that as part of normal human learning processes. Like there's no problem there whatsoever. None. And we've called every time we don't get what we want, if it doesn't go our way, if it doesn't unfold according to our plan, we've called it awful, 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 awful. Ain't it awful? And it's a disaster, and it's a tragedy, and we spoke early in the show about we're creating our reality. So I don't believe that I created the fall in the bathtub. However, I will definitely create my experience of that. And if I call it awful, 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 then I'm going to experience it as awful, awful, awful.
Right.
And if I call it just what it is, a fall in the bathtub, period, then I'm not going to experience that much from it. I'm having physical symptoms, a bruise, a broken bone, some confusion, some dizziness, and that's a natural manifestation of the law. If you jump off a roof, gravity will pull you rapidly to the ground. Now, I didn't create that. I didn't cause that. And that's the law of it. And this space between it going like I plan and I can't see how it's going to go. That's very uncomfortable for most of us. We don't love the question mark. We don't love saying, I don't know how this is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Our mind is too afraid to say the 3 words, I don't know. So we're like, oh, I know, and I'm creating, and I'm causing, and I'm manifesting, and I'm demonstrating. And it's like, well, go ahead, and you better throw a dose of surrender in there for your own sake in case it doesn't turn out as you had planned, that your peace does not have to hinge on that.
Mm-hmm.
My peace does not have to hinge on that at times. So this notion of this uncertainty about how it's going to go, where we're going to go, what are we going to become, and that we're always living in a precipice of something new. And we don't quite know what it is, but things that used to interest us don't interest us as much, or relationships may be kind of going out on the fringe. And it's like, oh my God, I don't want them to go out on the fringe. We've been friends for 40 years. Or my God, what's happening here? Or we didn't have a big fight. We didn't have a blow up, but it's just not the same. It's like life is shifting us, always shifting us upward, I believe, or whatever, no up or down or good or bad, but in an evolutionary process.
Mm-hmm.
And this liminal space, when we can't see what's around the next corner, or what's going to be my next job, or what's going to be my next relationship, or how's this diagnosis going to turn out, or anything like that, is a very, very, very scary time for us in a liminal period of I need to know, I want to know, I've got to know, and I better know. Instead of like just getting some peace with that space, that liminal space where the uncertainty is a part of the unfolding. It's a plant is going to bloom, likely going to bloom, and the bloom has not opened yet. And I cannot pry the petals of the bloom open and still have a bloom. So it's like letting the liminal period be what it is and growing myself up to accept the discomfort, the uncertainty of that period, and that it's part of the process. And my discomfort with it is also indicative of what I'm afraid of. It also shows me what I'm attached to, and that it better turn out the way I had planned. Instead of like, I've planned all I can. I've prevented what I could prevent. I've prepared all I can prepare. And now it'll turn out the way it turns out.
Mm-hmm.
And what I call it, what I name it, what meaning I give it, how I interpret it, it's going to create how I experience it. So I have some power there. And it'll require interrupting some patterns of, instead of awfulizing it, to say, I can see this as it is and not be as undone by it as if I interpret it, call it awful, and then wonder why I'm in experience of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes me also think about needing to be still in the moment, because what you're talking about, I think, is really important, and recognizing that doing things all the time, and I'm going to be talking about myself here, by just being a doer, do, I don't have as much of that awareness. It's almost like running away from myself. And so needing to slow down, stop, and just be in that space and allow things to unfold.
Well, they're going to unfold anyway.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I recognize that we have to, there's an amount of doing that has to be done, but there also has to be the being side of it, and not just be one-sided.
Well, yes. And we've gotten, many of us are, you can look at it as the Martha Mary energy. Martha, Martha, thou art busy with many things. Martha, Martha, stay busy. Martha, Martha, there's things to do. Wash the dishes, make that bed, get it done, get your job done. And Mary, who sat at the feet,
Yeah.
anointed the feet,
Yeah.
combed the hair,
Mm-hmm.
and the internal polarization of this,
Mm-hmm.
of this need, and for many of us that understands beyond the theory of it, that there's something vital about having a time of contemplation,
Mm-hmm.
of reflection, of being, of prayer, of purification, of forgiveness, of writing, of journaling, of communion, of connecting with whatever created us, whatever
Mm-hmm.
word you give to that.
Mm-hmm.
And we are still, even though we have glimpses of the power of that and how vital that is to our well-being, that there's a tendency, a polarization tendency to, I don't have time for that, I'll get to that later. Like there's all this other stuff to do, and most of the doing is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
A distraction that becomes habitual, even work, exercise, TV, video, social media, whatever, that is a habitual distraction to keep us from doing this deep inner work that says, okay, I'm still believing things that I haven't questioned yet. The fact that I had that little zing at the way somebody looked at me, or that little zing about somebody's tone of voice, is an indicator to me. That's a gift to me, for me to go in and see what is it I'm believing that would have caused me to have such a reaction to that.
Mm-hmm.
And until that's cleared, then that's what's running the show. Like I won't ever go beyond that, because it's the atmosphere, the operating system, if you will, that's in place. And until it's interrupted, till it's questioned, till it's brought into the light, got turned around, whatever it is, whatever words you'd want to give for it, clarified, then that's what continues to create.
Mm-hmm.
And we often accept it, like this is normal, or this is the way it's always been, or that's just the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of like, if we're all powerful beings, and if we do have some effect, if there's something we can cause, then it's like, then let's put all the energy that we have into saying, I'm going to cause as much as I can, and I'm going to cause as consciously as I can, and it requires me to surrender to the timing. And I don't know if, Mark, if that was one of the cards you pull from the Whispers of Wisdom, like it's going to be on life's timing, not my own.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would like it by Friday, and life will determine whether it's Friday or not.
Yeah.
And my peace is dependent on it being Friday, and it doesn't come till Monday, then hi ho, off to hell I go again. Instead of like, I planned on Friday, I have a ticket for Friday, I've got everything ready for Friday, and now I'm surrendered to the will and the way of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be determined how that's going to go. And that surrender can be very scary, and it's very consequential not to.
Right. So I think that was that card, which was so beautiful, was it didn't turn out the way I wanted. It was perfect.
It didn't turn out the way I had in mind. It was perfect.
Yeah.
And see, to say that though, I mean, to offer that as a platitude, like this morning, somebody on a session with me was really upset, undone about something. She's very hurt by one of her grown children's response to her. And she kept saying about every third word was, that's just how it is. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. So even these platitudes will get in the way of that.
Right.
Because it's one thing to say, that's just the way of it. That's just the way it is. It's one thing to say that. It's another thing entirely to embody that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all good. It's all good. It's like, well, tell
Is
your
it?
face.
Yeah, exactly.
Your face, because your face has not caught up yet to this is good.
Yeah.
And it may not. And it's no care of our soul, no care of our spirit to call something good when we're not experiencing is that. So in the absolute, it may all be good. I don't know. But in the meantime here, there's death, disease, famine, molestation, inequality, injustice. There's all matters of things going on here that no sane person would call good.
Yeah.
Even though in the big scheme of things, it's necessary, apparently.
Yeah.
Flood is necessary. Drought is necessary. Snowfall, 8 feet of snow is necessary. Below freezing temperatures, necessary. And no human mind can comprehend the depths, I don't think, of what all that's about and how it's all playing its part perfectly.
Our
Absolutely.
producer is giving us the cue that our time to go.
Go ahead, Mark. It's time for a break. I can't believe that this half hour has gone so quickly. So we're just going to take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back. Don't go away with our wonderful Reverend Dr. Martha Creek. And we're talking about daring to create and daring to be great. And what are those unconscious thoughts, feelings, beliefs that keep us afraid and keep us from that? So see you shortly.
It was a treat. It was a bonding. It was a celebration of men. It was a celebration of men who want to deepen in their spiritual awareness of one another, of themselves.
Welcome. We are a brotherhood of spiritually minded and open-hearted positive men. We invite you to join us.
And I came in knowing one person, I left knowing all of the group. And I feel like I came in knowing meeting strangers, but knowing and leaving brothers.
Come experience the New Thought Men's Gathering, Foundations 2024. Friday, March 15th through Sunday, March 17th. With Reverend Robert Brzezinski, Reverend Patrick Creelman, Reverend Eamon Duffy, and special guest musician Jamie Lula. In Vernonia, Oregon, at Camp Cedar Ridge. Learn more and register at www.newthoughtmens.community.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa, Satya Center, Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring.
Welcome back. My goodness, that went so quickly for me. I don't know about anybody else, but I was thoroughly enjoying the conversation. So going back to liminal space, I've heard that being said a lot lately in different circles. And we've spoken a little bit about physically how that could look like. or when we're trying to create something visually that is really I think what I'm trying to say is, my understanding was we can put something out there and then we have to actually make space to let whatever's going to happen, and that it's okay if it doesn't happen the way we thought it should, because sometimes the way it does happen is actually even better, or perfect, let's say. So what about the liminal space that we are living in right now?
You mean, you in what way, honey? Because we've got emotional liminal space, psychological liminal space, metaphorical, spiritual, the physical.
I've heard people saying we're living in a liminal space, and I think what I've taken it to mean is that things are going on in the world that are creating a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty, all those kinds of emotions, and even confusion. Like for me, it's like I can't believe that I feel like we've gone backwards. Like I'm stuck somewhere thinking, how did this happen? And so I don't know what level that would be, but it seems to be like we are. Years ago, my mom and dad's time, they would get a job and they would stay in a job for 30 or 40 years and they would retire, and their lives would basically be pretty stable and very just I don't even know what the word is. And it just seems that life has sped up and life has changed, and we are going through a change. And so what space do you think that is right now?
Well, it's rapid, I think, and that's also created some of this discomfort. It's
Mm-hmm.
also any tendency to hold on to the old way, the traditional ways, or the family traditions ways, or something is can't be done. And we can look at it from what's going on in the families. Just yesterday, I got a report from one of my degrees and studies is in human resources and organizational management. And some of the data from that human resource world is that people in jobs are staying less than 1 year. 60% of people are staying in a job less than 1 year. And then depending on the age group, it could be even 6 or 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like for those of us that are still got one foot in the other world of our parents are like shaking our heads at that. Like, how could you change jobs so quickly or so unpreparedly or so spontaneously or whatever else? And that same age group is looking at us shaking their head going, how in the world could you stay in a job, for 5 years or 50 years or whatever the case may be? So this is Brene Brown speaks about it in terms of a messy middle that we don't know yet what it's going to be. Or what the new norm is going to be as far as how people get jobs. But it's clear as a bell that the old is dead.
Mm-hmm.
The old way is. And for those of us that cling to that or hang on to that or get righteous and say that was a better way or that was the good old days or that was the preferred way or something, is not doing ourselves any favor of saying that was the way of then and this is the way of now. And you don't have to like it a bit. You sure don't have to agree with it. And that will not change the fact that this is the way of it. This is the way that is becoming.
Mm-hmm.
The same thing in some of our families. It's like trying hard to keep our families together. Some of us work to actually keep a family together and to avoid cutoff and things like that. And it's like, at some point, it's like I cannot keep a family together that's not meant to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can do what I can. I will absolutely avoid cutoff. I will do everything I can to reach across an aisle, so to speak, and it may not be possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I can still care about them and extend love to them. And it may mean that I can't be with them, that we can't be in family gatherings together, that we can't have conversations together because the energy is too intense to bear it, or it wouldn't even be sane or sensible to put yourself in an environment like that. And it's like accepting the terms of it,
Mm-hmm.
accepting that that is the way of it. And it's not what I prefer. And it's not how I dreamed. It's not the Norman Rockwell picture or the Kincaid, whoever that artist is, about how families look. It's not, it doesn't fit that picture. It's
Yeah.
a picture of families that have quite a few disagreements, and families that have differences.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we were raised in the same houses and things like that, we've got very different psyche, very different ways that we've been informed, very different wiring in us.
Yeah.
Even my own mother used to say about me and my brother, there's only two of us then, 1 year apart, February to February. And she used to say, if I had not have given birth to both of you, I would swear you cannot be related. There was such a marked difference in us. Like, there's no way you could be related if I hadn't given birth to both of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the nature of the human being.
Yeah.
And then the liminal space between that accepts there's some discomfort in that. And we're also, I believe, we're equipped for it. Like, if we were equipped to be in the situations we're in, we're equipped to be in the families we're in, we're equipped for it. And we're always further equipping. So it's not a one and done. You know, there's some growth that will happen, and some growth that has to be. And the growth is not always pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
It can be very uncomfortable at times. And my friend Steve used to say it as, I don't want to grow no more. I'd rather just have a good cheeseburger. Thanks. And it's like, well, you have your cheeseburger and you can expect some growth or some resistance, whether you want to grow or not. You're going to get some.
It's going to happen anyway.
It also speaks to in terms of grief,
Mm-hmm.
like a liminal period between grief, and how much I hear from people. Like, if one more person tells me I ought to be over this by now,
Yeah.
like, if I could get over this, trust me, I would be over it.
Right.
And I have done everything under the sun. I have processed, I have cried, I have therapied, I have aware-apied, I have written it down, I have done grief recovery methods, I put it in burning bowls, I have cried my guts out, and it has not left me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like accepting whatever time it takes is whatever time it takes, be it the grief process, be it a physical ailment process, be it this uncertainty about what the world's going to be or become, where we're going to land in all of this. It's like, to be determined.
Right.
And my discomfort in it is mine to manage.
Okay.
I can speak to being in the liminal space right now physically, having gone through 2 years of health problem, and nobody to date has been able to figure out the problem. So, and I'm still challenged with it. So it's hard to live in that liminal space. And I'm very good to carry on with my life and take on new adventures, such as coming on the Spirit Cafe. And as you were talking about the being in the liminal space, Martha, I'm choking up, because I'm like, I can relate to that experience right now.
Absolutely, honey. And my heart to yours that you don't have to be in that space by yourself, which is the message to all listeners. That's all I know about it. You do not have to do it alone. You cannot do it wrong, and it'll take longer than you like. Dang it. And that's a great example, though, of what you're creating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's uncertainty about it. You've turned over every rock, it sounds like. You're looking under it to see what is the cause here, and it's not clear yet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's uncomfortable. And I'm still saying yes to as much life as I can, because I'm not in the grave yet. So I'm not going to put myself in the grave until I go in the grave. So in the meantime, there's some undetermined something going on, and I'm available for Spirit Cafe, and sign me up. I'll be there.
Yeah.
That is the most empowered, inspiring, engaging, connective possibility for any of us. Honey. That's a shining example of it. And thank you for sharing yourself in that, honey, and how touched you are by it, and how what an emotional burden it can be on you, has been on you likely, and maybe again, and you don't have to bear it by yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can attest to both. You don't have to do it by yourself, and really exactly what you said, Martha, is exactly who Marg is. She may be in that liminal space, but she says yes, she participates. She's definitely nowhere near 1 foot in the grave.
I still give Cheryl a hard time.
Yeah, she does. She pokes the bear every now and again, which is great. I love it. And what a wonderful example you are, Mark. Very inspirational, to so many. We don't have to stay in the liminal space. It may be an experience we're having right now, but we don't have to sit in it. We can actually be aware of it. And be okay with it, but still live our lives.
Well, or not be okay, and let that I'm not okay with it be okay.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't have to pretend that I'm okay in this. It's like, this has me undone. I'm confused. I'm even concerned about it. And it's like, worry takes such a bad rap, but it's like worry is what causes our brain to resource also. When worry is used, it'll say, well, I didn't think about this, or wait a minute, I haven't looked at that avenue. Maybe, wait a minute, somebody else had a similar symptom. I'm going to circle back and see what they found out about it. So that worry can be like fuel, like for the meal, so to speak, if we can use it like that and not let it shut us down. And when we do get shut down, to care for that part of us, which I'd love me to hear again, and to any listener, like these parts of us that are afraid in times like this are valid. Fear is valid. Fear has a vital, essential service to us. And it's absolutely okay to have some fear. There's nobody with a pulse that doesn't have fear. And if we can wake up to this and the possibility in this, we won't be denying this all the way to our grave. We will be integrating this to say that fear is a part of my humanness, and it's there for a reason, and it can inform me, and it can be a part of my integrative process if I'm willing to allow it and to go toward it instead of to disown it, or attempt to disown it, to attempt to get it in a box and get it sealed up and taped up and in a cellar somewhere so I can always pretend like I have no fear. Versus authentic living includes that. And the fear is having its own cause. And the more it's left unattended, usually the more powerful it gets.
It feeds on itself. Yeah. Yes. That's again another one of the things that I love about you, is how you remind us that it's okay. It's okay to be human. That we are spiritual beings having a human experience, and not to deny any part of that, but to embrace it. Well, I love how you put, that worry can actually bring other solutions, other thoughts about where next to go, what to do. That how often do you hear about anybody talking about worry like that?
Well, no. And that even if it sleeks out, like, oh, I had a little worry. Well, that wasn't really worry. No, I wasn't really worried. Let me not like rewind. Like, well, no, I had some worry about it, and worry got me to thinking, and worry got me to resourcing, and worry got me to creation. Worry caused me to make a few phone calls and other things like that. So it's beneficial. And if you believe what we teach, there's dignity in all things. All things are vital, essential, including this. And we're the ones that said fear is a problem. Don't have any fear. And if you got fear, don't speak about it.
Right.
Instead of like, no, fear's inhale and exhale.
Yeah.
And I have inhale and exhale. And it would be no different than saying, I only want inhales. Thank you. I don't want to do exhales anymore. It's like, well, not up to you.
Yeah, not
So
possible.
Inhale and exhale. So I have courage and fear. I have empowerment and disempowerment. I have capacities, capabilities, and incapacities.
Right.
And I can cause and get her done, and I can be stuck and in a grind and in kind of a rut. And all of it is included. It's the alpha and the omega of what is. It's not one or the other. It's both and.
And remembering the both and. So that if I'm in the worry mode, that I don't stay in the worry mode is where I'm going. Yeah. So I can worry and it can have a function. And if I stay in that worry, then I don't go to the other side. I don't go to, oh, okay, this is what I can do when this worry came up.
Which would then leave us with a little bit of even curiosity. The mystery of it can lead us. Like, even though the mystery can be very frightening. Like, oh no, I don't want it to be mysterious. Like, oh no mystery for me, please. And it's like, well, the mystery is there. So I've got to get a little more accepting, a little more friendly with the mystery of it. And then a faith, a belief that the mystery knows more than I do, that the mystery is going to unfold according to an exact, perfect divine plan. And it may not meet my ramifications. It may not meet my expectations, and so be it. And that living in that surrender of that it is more curious then. I live more in awe of, like, I've done all I can. I dug the ground up. I treated the soil. I put a seed down. I patted it. I loved it. I put some water on it and put it where it can get some sun. Now, what becomes of it? God's business. And God help me that when that plant grows up, it could be 2 plants and tomato plants, and one grows 12 tomatoes and one doesn't grow 2 tomatoes. And I'm going to say one was a success and one was a failure, instead of like, there's no such thing.
Right.
One grew 2 tomatoes, and one grew 12, period. And it's not mine to interpret. And the more I interpret that, the crazier I get. The more I interpret that, the more stressed I'll get. And then I'm going to be mad and judgmental about the one that didn't produce more than 2 after all I did for it.
Yeah, and I can make a story around that, right, as well, because we do that. We that's one of the things I learned from you, Martha, is period. I remember phoning you once and giving you this whole story, and you said to me, "What are the facts? Just tell me what the facts are, period, and the rest you made up," right?
I can go to a made up story just based on what Martha said. So we were talking about me not being ready for the grave yet, right? And then you said, well, you could go out and you could dig, I'm paraphrasing here, the shovel and the dirt. And I'm like, okay, well, where are you going with this? Am I going into the ground?
Nope, I was talking about tomato plants.
I got it. But I had to listen to hear the whole story.
Well, that's an exact example of it. And let me clarify. So hopefully I spent some time listening with you, Cheryl, too, before I said, what are the facts? Because whatever feelings are behind that is what is representative of some traumatic part of us that is feeling invaluable, unempowered. So we're looking for safety, power, and value generally.
Yeah.
And any feeling that we have is a measure of I'm not experiencing safety, value, or power.
Mm-hmm.
And so feelings, just like worry, can also be very helpful to put me in touch, which was part of our tagline for today. What feelings am I having about this
Mm-hmm.
can inform me about where I've not tended to myself,
Right.
where I need to do some nurturing to myself,
Right.
into that aspect of me that's having these feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes if I get so burdened by them, or I get so entangled in them, so merged with the feelings, I've lost perspective about what the facts are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's necessary sometimes for me to keep a very clear distinction between the facts and the feelings.
Right.
That's the only way that I can get any clearance for myself. And that's outlined in the last book, in this Presence and Potential book. So it's
Okay.
available if people want it. Presence and
Beautiful.
Potential. And one of the chapters, each of the chapters is its own life lesson. It's my own spiritual practices outlined that include keeping a clear distinction between facts and feelings. And in your case, in a case with somebody I was serving and supporting today, in a very similar, it sounds like medical condition.
Mm-hmm.
The oncologist says it's not oncology. The other specialist says it's not endocrinology. The other specialist says it's not this. And in the meantime, I've still got an issue.
Right.
And it's like, okay, where would you want me to go with this?
Yeah.
It's a no for you, and you. And in the meantime, I've still got an issue here.
Yeah.
And to be determined where she's going to go.
Yeah.
And how,
Well,
what kind of peace of mind she can have in the meantime.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Deja. Deja's put that up, and Martha also has a website that you can go to with some wonderful resources and things that she offers at marthacreek.com. I cannot believe that the hour is up. Barbara Jean likes to ask the question before we leave: if there's one thing you would like people to leave with today, what would that be? And I'm thinking, how can I even ask Martha that? But I'm asking it on behalf of Barbara.
It feels like a sincere desire to accept the mystery of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's for myself, to accept the mystery of all things. And for me, I spend a lot of my vital life force, if I'm not careful, trying to make sense out of things that won't ever make any sense. So I'll be better off if I just chalk it up to, ain't that mysterious?
Beautiful. I love that. Mark, anything you would like to share that you're leaving with?
Dare to be authentic.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. I have loved every minute. I think for me, it's you use the word be in the mystery of it. I'd like to say I remain curious and open to learning and understanding more. And so grateful to have you here, Martha Creek. I know we have you coming up again, I believe, in March. So watch this space. And thank you so much for being with us, for sharing your wisdom. I have your first book, which is Martha's Pearls, Pearls of Wisdom. And there you go. And I'm certainly going to go and have a look for your second. So thank you once again. Yeah. So I hope that those who tune in will like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.